1. When I open my eyes, everything is jet black. It takes half a second for my wolf lenses to respond, and the world is illuminated. A world of sharpened imagery, definition, and shades beyond count. I don't tend to think in solid colors anymore. I think in shades. The night is jet black. Ebony black. Onyx black. I'm sure there was once a time when black was just black to me, but it's long forgotten. Something woke me. I listen, and watch the shades of black morph into the grayscale objects of my bedroom. I'm still alone, but something is different. My gaze is searching. I'm certain I heard something, yet there's no vibration in the air. No receding noise. No proof I heard anything at all, except my sudden alertness. Rubbing my eyes is strongly ill-advised by my doctor, so I blink several times to help my lenses catch up with me. Unlike those issued Wolf 1 and 2, I have to wear my Wolf 3 lenses permanently. Waking up is a tedious process of blinking the ache away, and lubricating my eyes with a serum I keep beside my alarm clock. The alarm hasn't sounded, but I don't need it to. I usually have an interior alarm clock inside my head. The sun hasn't yet risen, and Hans won't have reached our ranch. The bang I heard wouldn't have been caused by him. I begin to suspect it was merely one of our goats outside. I step around my books and papers, which I'd put down beside my bed when I decided to sleep. I slot pictures of stars and meteors inside textbooks, and hoist them onto my desk. I had bought them just before summer, still hopeful I may have gone to the university in Phoenix, with the rest of my friends. It had been a false hope. I sort myself out, dressing quietly and brushing my hair. I weave a thin braid into two larger sections of hair, to create a single side braid. It's a style my mother did for me when I was younger. If she didn't weave a smaller braid into it, she would use a ribbon of whatever color I asked for. She used to do it all, cut my hair and style it for me. Not anymore. I slip into woolen tights and gloves, and make my way quietly to the door. I don't want to wake my mother yet. The sights within her dreams are too precious to her, second only to her memories. I breathe in the early morning air, and taste frost through my nose and mouth. This morning is calm, unlike many others, where the wind messes my hair, and the grass billows as though caught in a fast current. We rely on the goats to keep it trimmed, or the hem of my skirt would be weighted down with the dampness of morning dew. The sun is creeping up the side of the mountain. My lenses do a motionless dance, and adjust to the change in temperature and light. They settle enough for me to look down upon Orbelle with ease. Everything is still and normal, and I wonder if I ever heard the noise at all. Perhaps it was just a goat. Perhaps I was only hoping it were more. I'm always hoping for something more. Spots of cream and chestnut move across the hillside, and my lenses focus, sharply defining each goat. I can identify them all at once. These goats are not shy of me. I call them by their names, and lead them away from the house, towards the shack. The bells around their necks chime as they give chase. My father kept his weapons in here, including his crook and his rifle. My favorite goat, a young white male named O'Malley, reaches me first and bleats loudly. As I unbolt the door, the goats assemble and cry out for breakfast. Our ranch is small and isolated on the hill. It's weaved into the web of other roads by the many dirt tracks, made by a few trucks and animals, connecting us to the rest of Orbelle, half a mile away, and stretched out beneath our hill, like a distant neighbor. Hardly anyone visits us. No one ventures this far to see how my mother is doing, and how I'm keeping things afloat. If there were any news at all, Hans would tell someone. And it's Hans who takes our cheese and milk to sell on Sundays. Those I went to school with have fluttered to the city like birds escaping their nests. People forget all about us here. I look down at the patchwork of rooftops and chimneys, and wonder if anyone would be looking back up at the ranch. And remembering Linnea Hansen, the herder girl, trudging around the ranch with her boots on. who said how she would one day be an astronomer. Whilst the goats are occupied with food, I look up at what puts Orbelle on postcards and travel websites. They call it Mount Reunite, but we affectionately call it Mount Venus, a 13,000-foot giant that looms over our ranch. The mountain is easily identified by tourists for its bluish color and crooked back. The sun's light starts to bear down on the ranch, and my lenses are able to adjust rapidly, so the glare doesn't blind me. Without them, I wouldn't be able to see everything in such acute detail. Duke listens, from spider webs stretching across the gate, like a string of translucent pearls, and small buds of ivy are sprouting from the gate post. O'Malley won't let me forget about him. He knows if he butts me several times, I might just share my own breakfast with him. I take a small apple out of my pocket and eat it as I walk, pretending to ignore him. He bleats and pulls at my skirt, until I bend down and give him the sticky core. He stays by my side as I head down the hill in the wake of the postman. I've been waiting 2 days for his visit. I reach the mailbox and withdraw our letters, sitting on the stone wall, with my knees up, looking for anything addressed to me. There is only one. It bears the wolf emblem. It doesn't resemble a sharp-toothed carnid, as one might expect, but the image of an eye. The iris is like a globe of the earth, and the words, Worldwide Optic Lens Foundation, are printed beneath it. There are 2 of these envelopes. The other is addressed to my mother. My lenses use smart technology to bring the letters slightly off the page, in a 3-dimensional way, making each word I look at leap forward. I wonder what color my irises are right now. Without a mirror, I can't tell what shade they are at any given time, unless someone else tells me. Right now my eyes could be ocean blue, calming lavender, coal gray, coral pink. I've almost forgotten what my natural hazel ones looked like. The lenses have sensors to detect a person's pulse and body temperature. The acceleration of either will trigger a response. There is a miniature chip in the lens that will pick up your voice. They say it's not invasive, and will merely pick up on your tone to help its readings. Urgent whispering, aggressive shouts, and even sarcasm help paint a picture beneath your eyelids. The miniature antenna sends the information back to Wolf HQ, via satellite. You're supposed to calibrate the lenses yourself once a month with a program, and attend regular appointments. There appears to be nothing from my father for either of us, and I slide off the wall with a sigh. The sun has risen, and I spy the first train rolling towards the station. It's far away, but I still watch it from up on the hill. In a couple hours we'll be boarding the train to Fenix ourselves. O'Malley bleats loudly, and I look down to see he's dropped my apple core, and is chewing something else. My heart races when I see him stomp down on a piece of red wire, whilst his teeth pull at another black one. He's determined to wrench the wires free from a piece of circuit board. I shove him urgently, and pull it from his mouth, noting how chewed and frayed it already is. "Where did you get this?" I ask him curiously. I turn the board over in the palm of my hand. It's grasshopper green, and like nothing we've ever had up on this ranch. Wherever O'Malley unearthed this, it's a rare find. I can see a white logo printed on the board. I recognize the logo, but can't put a name to it. All I know is, it came from something electrical, and if O'Malley had a piece, there's a chance other scrap may be around. People don't litter in Orbelle, but a lot of students have just returned from the city, and may have brought new habits with them. Perhaps the ranch is isolated enough up here to be the perfect dumping spot. Perhaps. But unlikely. No one would come up here just to discard a piece of scrap circuit board. I tuck it away in my pocket to stop any other goats eating it. I'm sure my mother will be awake by now, and I stroll back up to the porch. I use my knuckles to rap a large brass bell, as I reach the final step. It was once used to summon milkmaids, so my father told me. They would have been younger than me back then, but I'm the only young maid out on the hill this morning. Those even younger than me, will be preparing for school. The bell has rusted over the years, but it still gives a satisfying chime, causing some of the goats to lift their heads and listen. No doubt my mother would have heard it. She's listening to the radio in her chair. The window is open, and she knows to anticipate me. She turns down the volume as I throw myself into another chair. "Your shoes, Linnea," she says firmly. I kick them off, into the hall. They thump against the wooden floor. I open the letters, one by one, and read them to her. Her expression doesn't change as I read out bills and reminders. Her face does move, however, when I reveal we both have letters from Wolf. "It's our appointment reminders," I say, before reading mine aloud. It confirms both of our appointments for today, along with a brief overview of what to expect, and what to bring with us, including a list of any new medication we're currently taking. The letters have arrived just in time. Our train leaves before midday and, by 3 o'clock, my appointment should be over. If only post didn't arrive so slowly here. I'm sure everyone else gets their letters a day in advance. Wolf knew to make our appointments on the same day. I've made some preparations in my head. I wonder if I should even call the prison. I've never done that on my own before. "Was that everything?" my mother asks. I hesitate, and she fills the silence. "You heard it this morning too, didn't you?" "You mean the bang?" "I thought someone slammed the gate, but it sounded so much closer than that. I thought maybe you dropped something in your bedroom." I wait for her to reveal her own conclusion, but instead she shakes her head. "I guess it was one of the goats. They all seem fine this morning." "Yeah, fine." I put my hand in my pocket and touch the wires of the board. "I think you're probably right. Do you want me to do something else before we go today?" "You could speak with Hans. Tell him that he's welcome here, as before." She begins fussing. I gather papers that have blown onto the floor, brush crumbs from the chairs, and draw back a few curtains she missed. The last thing I do is make sure our lunches are made before I go. Although she tells me she's more than capable of making a sandwich for herself. "I should be making lunch for you," she grumbles. I lean in to kiss her goodbye, and she pulls me in for a hug. When we part, she's smiling, but her eyes look right through me. There is no color beneath her long lashes. Just the many shades of emptiness. "I'll be back soon." I brush a stray hair away from her face. We have always looked so similar. I inherited her golden hair and slim frame. But I notice a few more grays appearing among the blonde, and wonder if there is any point in mentioning it. I promised her I would tell her such things, but it's never been easy. Before 11. My bag is already packed. She insists on going to the front door with me, and waves as I head down the path. When I look back, she's still waving as though she will never stop, as if she can really see me. Then she collects the thin white cane in her hand, and navigates her way back into the house. I make my way down the hill, following the dirt path. Cows stare as though I've interrupted a deep conversation, and wait to resume telling secrets once I've gone. I meet Hans at the bottom of the footpath, by perfect chance. He's holding his stick in one hand and a bottle of milk in the other. "Hey," I call. "Good morning." "Mornin', Lynn." His tone is flat, but his eyes turn teal when he sees me. Happy is the first primary color they teach you when you learn wolf code in school. Blue for happy. You only truly learn the color code through experience. "I was taking this to your mother on my way." "Cow or goat?" I eye the milk greedily. He hands me the bottle, and tells me to guess. I tip the bottle down my throat, and taste the creaminess that may be considered common to the city folk. "Cow," I say. On the hill we rarely drink this unless the milkman brings it specially. We have our own goats to provide what we need, but we can't beat the price, or overall preference, of cow's milk. Not even I can deny, I like the taste of this better. You had better tell your mother I let you drink that, or she'll think I was glugging it. Hans places his stick over his shoulders, and stretches his back. He's 27 now, built solid, and as tall as my father. She probably won't notice. Oh, she will. This is something I've always liked about Hans. Unlike other people, he won't underestimate my mother's abilities, and wouldn't dream of lying to her just because he can. He swore to my father he would look after us both. If it weren't up to him to run the ranch in our absence, I know he would escort us to the city, and even help me visit the prison. But I would never ask such a thing. He does enough for us already. Although he's quiet and withdrawn, everyone knows Hans. We have our wolf appointments today. I hand the milk back. You remember that, right? So you're welcome to stay at the ranch as always. Save you walking up and down the hill. He salutes nonchalantly, and continues his hike. I lick the taste of milk from my lip, and wonder where I should go next. It's still early in the morning, although most people are up and working already. But for my friend Anna, who is only back in Orbelle for the holidays, this time in the morning is ghastly, unless she has a lecture to attend. If I knock on her door now, I expect she'd create more fuss than all my goats put together. But I do need to see her, and make sure she hasn't changed her mind on what we agreed. It might have to wait for now. I decide to go to the station first. The information desk operators know almost everyone by name, and I don't mind sharing with them the nature of our excursion. Everyone gets called to the city for wolf appointments, just as they did for dentists and the opticians, back in my father's day. Not many people know I'm type 3. Most people are type 1, the standard lenses that are removed at night, but required for full use during the day, by law. Although it's difficult to appreciate the changes when you live in such an isolated town. Wolf lenses were initially put in place to reduce the high levels of substance abuse, violence, and theft in Fenix. Guilt and truth are easier to identify. Health is easier to monitor. All aspects were encouraged to save Fenix money. I'm not sure how useful the lenses are here. But the law is in place for everyone, rural or urban. And if you're type 1, then your compliance with the law is inexcusable. There are also type 2 lenses, for those who already require vision enhancers. Years ago people wore glasses, or clear contacts that gave you standard vision. I have a pair of my father's glasses that he wore when he was my age. They're ridiculous to look at and try on. Type 3 breaks the mold by rejecting types 1 and 2. Wolf like to keep an eye on people like me. I've collected more train times than my mother intended. Tomorrow is another date I'm determined not to miss. A meteor shower is due to grace this side of the equator. From up on the mountain, high above the glow of Orbelle's street lamps, or the neighboring villages, the chance of witnessing the phenomenon is something I'm not prepared to miss. I've already declined my first opportunity to study astronomy, to care for my mother. I've had no choice but to practice my hobby through books and stargazing. Perhaps one day I shall enroll in the city and study it properly, but, for now, I'm needed on the ranch.